Good morning. Today I am going to present my study with Kaiser for the looking at facts in subject pronoun interpretation. What comes next matters. The question of pronoun interpretation is a fundamental challenge due to its referential underspecification. It has been investigated from many perspectives, and many researchers agree that pronouns tend to refer to salient entities in discourse. Although various factors have been suggested to contribute to the entity's salience, surprisingly, most previous psycholinguistic work has mainly focused on how information that precedes the pronoun that we will call pre-pronominal factors affects pronoun interpretation. However, less attention has been paid to post-pronominal factors. That means the information available after the pronoun is encountered. So a big question of this study is whether and how pronoun resolution is affected by post-pronominal information. Regarding the pre-pronominal factors that guide the pronoun resolution, here let us consider one of the best-known pre-pronominal factors, namely implicit causality verbs. As you can see in example 1a, with the IC1 verbs like surprise, a following subject pronoun tends to refer to the preceding subject. However, with the IC2 verbs like respected, a following subject pronoun tends to refer to the preceding object, as in example 1b. And in case you're wondering, dax here is a noun word. On the other hand, regarding the post-pronominal factors, we know that researchers acknowledge that the post-pronominal information influences pronoun interpretation. In particular, post-pronominal verb semantics is known to elicit different interpretation of the pronoun. As you can see in the example 2, the pronoun they can refer to either the subject city council or the object demonstrators, depending on which verb is following the pronoun. However, the post-pronominal factor that we tested in this study is referential properties of the sentence, specifically whether or not the interpretation of subject position pronoun is modulated by who is or isn't mentioned later in the same clause, as you can see in the example 3. Just for your clarification, we are not looking at real-time incremental processing in this study. So the post-pronominal information means the information occurs linearly after the subject position pronoun. The influence of the post-pronominal referential properties is shown by Kaiser's 2009 sentence production data, and theoretically, it is predicted by discourse-based models like centering theory. For background information, let me briefly explain the key intuition of centering theory. According to centering theory, pronouns are resolved so that the transition from one sentence to the next is as coherent as possible, and it assumes that the less the salient entity changes, the more coherent the discourse is. As you can see in the example, the entity Henry occurs in the privileged subject position, and the entity Kevin occurs in the less privileged object position. And either entity can be a potential antecedent of the following pronoun he. In the case that only one of the reference from the preceding clause is mentioned in the continuation, maintaining Henry in the privileged subject position, meaning Henry dexed, or promoting Kevin to the subject position, meaning Kevin dexed, both yield equally coherent transitions according to centering theory. So both maintaining and promoting the referent are preferred if there is nothing to mention later in the same clause. On the other hand, if both the subject and the object from the preceding clause are mentioned in the continuation with the two pronouns he and him, interpreting the second clause as Henry dexed Kevin maintains the subject Henry in the privileged position and maintains the object Kevin in the less privileged position. In this case, it is predicted to yield a coherent transition. However, if the second clause is interpreted as Kevin dexed Henry, it will demote Henry to the less privileged position while promoting Kevin to the privileged position. In this case, it yields a less coherent transition. So it shows that demoting the salient reference to the less privileged position is dispreferred if previously a less salient referent is promoted. In summary, entities mentioned anywhere in the sentence can contribute to the coherent discourse transition according to centering theory. Building on this idea, this study will investigate whether the interpretation of subject position pronoun is influenced by who else is mentioned later in the sentence. So let me introduce specific research questions of our study. We have two research questions. First is whether the interpretation of subject position pronoun is affected by post-pronominal information in addition to pre-pronominal factors. And the second question is how pre-pronominal and post-pronominal factors would interact in guiding reference resolution. In this study, the research questions are addressed by investigating how a subject position pronoun is resolved in an ambiguous context. In the test sentence, the pronoun has two potential antecedents like Henry and Kevin. As for pre-pronominal factors, we manipulated verb semantics by using implicit causality verbs in the first clause. As you may know, I see one verb trigger a subject antecedent preference, while I see two verbs trigger an object antecedent preference. And then, as for post-pronominal factor, we manipulated the referential structure in the second clause. The second clause only contained one pronoun like because he texted, or contained a pronoun and a new name like because he texted Tom, or contained two pronouns like he texted him. The difference among the referential structure types is that in the two pronoun condition, both the subject and the object from the preceding sentence are mentioned in the continuation. However, in the one pronoun condition and the pronoun and the name condition, only one of the reference from the preceding sentence is mentioned. Then, how does the different referential structures affect the pronoun resolution? According to centering theory, it predicts that the subject pronoun will prefer the subject antecedent in the two pronoun condition, but there will be no preference in the one pronoun condition. If you look at the two pronoun condition first, the pronouns can be resolved in two ways. First, in the example, the pronoun he can refer to the subject Henry, and the him refers to the object Kevin. This interpretation yields a coherent transition because the most salient entity of clause 1 is unchanged in clause 2 as Henry, and the other entities maintain their saliency level. However, the other interpretation, Kevin next to Henry, yields a less coherent transition because the most salient entity of clause 1, Henry, is changed in clause 2 into Kevin. Moreover, the most salient entity got demoted to the less privileged object position, while less salient entity Kevin was promoted to the privileged subject position. So in the two pronoun condition, it is predicted that the subject pronoun will prefer the subject antecedent over the object antecedent. On the other hand, in the one pronoun condition, the pronoun he can refer to either Henry or Kevin, but the two interpretations are equally preferred. It is because there is no entity that gets demoted. When the pronoun he refers to Henry, the most salient entity of clause 1 is unchanged in clause 2 as Henry, maintaining its saliency level. So it results in the coherent transition. When the pronoun he refers to Kevin, the most salient entity changes across clauses by promoting the less salient entity Kevin to the privileged position. However, this interpretation also yields the coherent transition because there is no salient entity that got demoted to the less privileged position. Thus, we do not predict a bias toward either antecedent for the pronoun in the one pronoun condition. Now let's move on to the predictions. First, we expect to replicate existing verb type effects on pronoun interpretation. So the subject position pronoun should be more likely to refer to object antecedent with an IC2 verb than with an IC1 verb. Second, in addition to expected effects of IC formation, we expect that the pronoun interpretation is also influenced by post-pronominal referential structure. As we saw in centering theory, it predicts that the subject position pronoun is more likely to refer to the subject antecedent in the two pronoun configuration than the one pronoun configuration. So we expect that the one pronoun configuration elicits more interpretations where the subject pronoun refers to the preceding object compared to two pronoun configurations. Let's move on to our experiment. We conducted two offline experiments in this study. In experiment 1, we manipulated IC verb type in the pronoun preceding clause and the referential structure in the pronoun containing clause. As for the IC verbs, we controlled the strength of each verb's implicit causality bias. And as for the referential structure, we compared the two pronoun conditions like he texted him with the one pronoun condition he texted. Also, in the second clause, we used nouns and verbs like text to exclude the additional effects of verb semantics. In this experiment, participants did a picture writing task where they saw sentence image pairs and typed in names of event participants of the second clause in the boxes so that the picture matched the meaning of the second clause. In the two pronoun condition, the pictures included two stick figures. The figure at the origin of the arrow is the initiator of the action, and the one at the end of the arrow undergoes the action, and a nonce word in the middle represents the action of the second clause. For example, if people interpret he texted him as Kevin texted Henry, they will type in Kevin on the left text box, Henry on the right box. In the one pronoun condition, the pictures included only one stick figure, and the participants were told that the stick figure is the person doing the action. So in the figure, if people interpret he text as Kevin text, they will type in Kevin on the text box. Now let's look at the result of experiment 1. The figure shows the proportion of trials that the subject position pronoun is interpreted as referring to the object and incident. The y-axis shows the percentages of object and incident choices, and the label below each bar on the x-axis indicating referential structure type and the verb type. First, we found the pre-pronominal effects of verb type, replicating what earlier implicit causality work have found. The two bars on the left show the IC2 verb condition, and the other two bars on the right show the IC1 condition. As you can see, IC2 verbs significantly increase the proportion of object interpretation compared to the IC1 verbs. It indicates that pronoun resolution is guided pre-pronominal verb type cues. Also, we found the post-pronominal referential effect with IC2 verbs. There were significantly less object choices in the two pronoun condition, the second bar, compared to the one pronoun condition, the first bar. However, the referential structure effect was not found with IC1 verbs. The object choices between the one pronoun condition, the third bar, and the two pronoun condition, the fourth bar, were not different from each other. Taken together, these results suggest that reference resolution is guided both by pre-pronominal verb type cues and by differences in referential structure that occur after the pronoun. But unexpectedly, the post-pronominal effects of referential structure only arise with IC2 verbs, not with IC1 verbs. This unexpected result might have been confounded by verb transitivity because the two pronoun condition had transitive nouns verbs, but the one pronoun condition used intransitive nouns verbs. To provide a more direct test of the effects of referential structure, we conducted experiment 2. In experiment 2, we used the same material as experiment 1 except for referential structure type. This time, we compared the transitive two pronoun clauses to transitive pronoun and name clauses like he, text, Tom. The same picture writing task was used, but this time all targets depicted two characters both in the two pronoun condition and the pronoun and name condition. The picture clearly shows that all nouns verbs in the second clause were interpersonal transitive verbs. Let's move on to the result. Just like experiment 1, we found the pre-pronominal facts of a verb type. It also replicates what earlier implicit causality work have found. The two bars on the left show the IC2 verb condition, and the other two bars on the right show the IC1 condition. As you can see, IC2 verbs significantly increase the proportion of object interpretations compared to the IC1 verbs. It indicates that pronoun resolution is guided pre-pronominal verb type cues. Also, we found the post-pronominal reference effect both with IC2 and IC1 verbs. As you can see, the proportion of object interpretations was significantly lower in the two pronoun condition, the bars on the right in both IC verb conditions, compared to pronoun and name condition, the bars on the left. However, the effects are not as strong with the IC1 verbs as with the IC2 verbs. Taken together, the result of experiment 2 revealed the effects of both pre- and post-pronominal factors. However, unlike experiment 1, this time we found the significant effects of a referential structure not only in the IC2 condition, but also in the IC1 condition. So this result shows that the referential structure effect in experiment 1 cannot be reduced to just the verb transitivity differences. Now let's move on to the general discussion. Our study investigated the effects of post-pronominal and pre-pronominal information. First, pre-pronominally, we found a significant IC verb effect in both experiments, and it corroborates prior works that humans use pre-pronominal verb information for pronoun resolution. Also, post-pronominally, we found a significant referential structure effect. One pronoun configurations elicited more interpretations where the subject pronoun refers to the preceding object compared to two pronoun configurations. So it shows that differences in referential structure that occur after the pronoun also guide pronoun resolution. According to key intuition from centering theory, it is because demoting the salient reference to the less privileged position is dispreferred if previously a less salient reference is promoted. In other words, if someone has been promoted, we don't like to mention the guy who's been demoted. Interestingly, we found that pre-pronominal verb effects are stronger than post-pronominal referential effects. There are at least two possible reasons. First, it may stem from the inherent robustness of implicit causality effects. Second, it could be due to the incremental nature of language processing. It is reasonable to assume that revising previous co-referential link is costly. So future work is needed on this. So in conclusion, our take-home message is when interpreting a pronoun, what comes next matters. Thank you.